YouTube, what the crap's going on? HeirofCarthage here, and I'm not going to do this every time, but one more time I played the same opponent twice in a row. So I'll probably, well, you know what, I'm going to split these up into two battles because it's two different things here and I want to talk about it. The first battle was myself playing as the Arverni, and actually I was playing as Rome, sorry. I'm playing against the Arverni opponent. And I actually brought kind of a Polybian cohort here, probably obviously not the War Dogs, a common component there, but I just brought the War Dogs instead of skirmishers. I figured they'd be a good way for me to interrupt a barbarian charge. So I brought 3 War Dogs, 4 Equites with some upgrades. I've got 4 Hastati, each with a little upgrade to them. And then I've got 5 Principes and 2 Triarii. And then my Legatus General. So yeah, Polybian cohort here, moving an Acer Triplex, or Triplex ACs, whatever you all want to call it. So I figured this would be fun. Use the Romans in their one of their classic Republican layouts here. And the Gallic player brought an interesting army. It's kind of like a hodgepodge. He's got a couple of Oathsworn, some Naked Warriors, Celtic Warriors. He's actually got a bunch of skirmishers. He's got 2 Celtic skirmishers and 3 slingers. Don't recommend Celtic slingers. These guys are no good against Rome. Just they're absolutely worthless against Rome, actually, for the most part. So I really wouldn't recommend bringing them. He has a couple of Levy Freemen trying to protect his backlines. He's got his general and a spear noble. Interesting choice, though it's not a choice I would make against Rome. If you were going against a cab-heavy faction, I would recommend this. And he's even got the Caesar. You can tell he has the Caesar and Gaul DLC because of the general abilities there. He's got Unity of the Tribes and something else. So if he uses it, again, it'll really help the Arverni. And I think the Arverni are going to be one of the next ones that I'll just do a little research in. I don't know that they're going to have some kind of scare army, obviously. No, because they don't have any scare units. But I'm going to research the Caesar and Gaul abilities that these guys have, Unity of the Tribes and stuff, and just see what I can make of it. See if there's anything special you should know about it, kind of like I showed you with the Suebi scare tactics video. But yeah, so what my plan is in this case is I'm going to fight kind of Roman style. For the most part, I'm going to send in these dogs to create basically pin his skirmishers and infantry down so they can't countercharge me. So I actually targeted my dogs on his 2 weaker units of infantry, and then out here we actually got dog-on-dog action. Like, it's funny because the dogs mostly ignore each other. They fight some out here. But yeah, I released my dogs on his dogs that were on the flank, so bet you've never seen that before in Total War Rome 2. Dog-on-dog fight. That is all kinds of dogfight. Let me come back out here so y'all can see what's going on. My dog's chewing on his skirmishers that didn't retreat. So again, the slinger's not worth it to begin with. To see how his men start to charge forward, but then they get hung up on the dogs. And then my Hastati get a better counter charge on his Celtic warriors. Same thing with his Naked Warriors. See how many losses they took charging through the dogs? Dogs can be a pain to deal with. They are a pain to deal with, because when you click an attack order on them, your men don't attack the dogs, they go for the handlers. So dealing with dogs is difficult. And that's part of the reason why I brought them, just to make it difficult. Look at all the Pilla stuck in these guys. These are Oathsworn, though. So, Air, why are you attacking Oathsworn head-on with Hastati? Again, I wanted to keep him from charging. Just get my men in, do some damage. My men are formation attack, his Oathsworn are not. His Oathsworn didn't get a good charge, which is one of their biggest advantages. So it means that my guys right now are going to be fairly cost-effective in this fight, because they're in formation attack. They have decent melee attack and weapon damage, nothing great. My opponent's going to send a Levy Freeman in here to support, it looks like. And then on the flanks, I have engaged his Gallic Noble Horse with my Equites. I've used the Draco ability and then supported with Triarii out of formation attack. So I took the Triarii out of formation attack after the engagement begins, and they kind of split up and kill cavalry better. And you can see that combined with Draco, it's actually a pretty effective way to use Pre-Marian Rome. Their infantry is pretty cheap, which means that you can generally afford some Triarii. Otherwise, they're kind of expensive. Yeah, you can see my Equite is actually doing a really good job here. Equite is really, for 500 talents, they're not a bad cav unit. Now, they certainly can't take Noble Horse head-on, but they're pretty sturdy for 500 talents, is all I'm saying. They're not like Equites from Rome 1, where they died charging against a line of slingers or something. Okay, let's go back out to the main fight. My Hastati are getting pretty thrashed, so I move in my reserve line. And usually Air just has his men fight to the utter death, but I'm going to kind of be somewhat Romanesque here. I don't leave my men in checkerboard, which wasn't quite Romanesque, but I'm going to retreat my Hastati and replace them with the Principes. So here you can see me bringing in my Principes. His men were still wanting to attack my Hastati, but now they get attacked by fresh Principes. My opponent also leaves a gap in the lines right here. and then my cavalry has finished mopping up his men, so I'm just kind of taking this fight slow, because to be honest, the Romans have an advantage over the Arverni anyway, and my opponent was making some mistakes here, so I wasn't in a huge hurry. But yeah, I'm going to be able to pull through this gap and get into the back of these Oathsworn. So there I put my men into a more columnar formation and cleanly move through that goal, or that gap. And then my Equites now are going to run amok all over his skirmishers. So what's remaining of his skirmishers is going to die. I take my Principes out of formation attack here for the rear charge, again, because they'll split up better and hit these guys harder with a more penetrating charge. And then I throw my Hastati back in the fight to just really pincer these Oathsworn. And at that point, my opponent admits defeat, and that was the end of that battle. So let's go take a look at the Arverni real quick, since I mentioned talking about them. I can make an episode maybe more dedicated to it, but let's look at this Vercingetorix's general abilities. I'm just going to bring a Spear Noble, and I'll bring a couple of different units here just to get an idea of what effect it has, if any. And I'll put the Seleucid player over here, and I'll just give him a few troops to place hold, because we're not actually going to fight anything. All right, start the battle. I just want to take a look at these general abilities. I don't know if my opponent used the general abilities there, or how big of a difference they can make. So remember, for the Suebi, those general abilities focus more around charge and weapon damage, which can be, again, the Suebi are very shaky, but if you use those abilities right, it can actually be pretty punishing. It has to be used kind of like I showed you. If you all want to go reference that video, I mean, it's a great one to look up and go check it out, because it really worked well. Alright, so I got my Spear Noble close to all the units here. So it's going to take some cooldown time. Relentless increases our attack and fatigue. So it increases our attack, and obviously gives our guys resistance to fatigue. And then Unity of the Tribes is going to give a morale boost. So let's take a look at what that exact effect is. So I'm going to fast forward until the cooldown period's over. So that is, the Caesar and Gaul abilities take 1 minute when the battle starts before they can work. So not a viable strategy with rush armies unless you sit back for a minute before rushing, which is perfectly fine. It's not that hard to do. So let's see, Relentless. First of all, we're going to find out whether or not it's a just one that you click and it hits an area of influence, or whether it's one that you apply to a certain unit. So let's click it. Okay, it apparently just has an influence, and it's probably the general's influence. So Spear Warriors up to 29, Chosen's, I mean, they get a moderate boost, it looks like, to their attack. Like maybe 4 points. Yeah, like 4 points maybe. 4 or 5 points at the most. 5 at the most, I think. So nothing huge. Let's hit Unity of the Tribes and see what it does to their morale. So looks like 70 on my Spear Nobles right now. It goes up to 50, 75, 60. So yeah, maybe 5 morale boost. And I mean, Relentless lasts for a pretty good while. It could be handy if you use it along with Frenzy, I think, because Frenzy gets your men tired. And so if you use Frenzy and go ahead and do the charge and then pop Relentless afterwards, once Frenzy wears out, your guys ought to have like a fatigue buff, as opposed to, and it may counterbalance the fatigue debuff that comes from there. And then Unity of the Tribes lasts for a long time. Look how slow that one's counting down. So your guys could have a boosted morale for quite a while in the fight. So interesting. I'll do more research on the Arverni and get you all a video soon. But that's all I had for this particular episode. Just wanted to have some fun there, bring a Roman Polybian cohort. Hope you all enjoyed it. HeirofCarthage signing off for now.